It appears to me like he's punishing the children because my client brought him back to court for more child support. He's making more money than he ever did. This is retribution for returning to court for child support. And the children shouldn't have to pay the price because Mr. Dusseau's angry. He's making more money than he ever made. And I just feel like this is unfair to the children.
This hearing is being conducted via Zoom. President of the Attorney Maria Zagorski, representing the plaintiff petitioner Jennifer Croley Dusseau, and Ms. Croley Dusseau is present. And this Zoom hearing, also the defendant, Father Derek Dusseau, is also present. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
And the parties have confirmed with Mr. Pratt from the front of the court this afternoon has provided the court with fine recommendation that child support be modified. It appears to be in the nature of an increase to commencing May 1st of 2024. Defendant father shall pay child support in the amount of $2,124. It's broken down as base support of $2,083, a $13 credit, health insurance credit of $54 ordinary medical for a total of $2,124. It's based upon the plaintiff mother having 287 overnights, defendant father having 78 overnights. Uninsured medical expenses shall be shared as follows: the plaintiff paying 28%, defendant father paying 72%. Further, to recommend that the court order that the father reimburse his portion of their extracurricular activities for the children within 30 days of today's date. Further, finally, that each party shall claim one minor child each tax year as a dependent. Mother will claim Kimberly, father will claim Michael. The children, as noted, have a band trip to Universal Studios. The trip is not mandatory. However, father is paid for the trip out of the same situation for 2022-23, and the parties shall share equally the cost of that band trip. That is a recommendation. Mr. Gorski, is this recommendation agree with your client this afternoon?
Yes, Judge. I think the 30-day reimbursement is from today for, well, Dad does owe Mom some money, but I think the agreement is just that within 30 days of her providing proof of payment, he will pay. My client's shaking her head no.
He caught up the last year's band payments.
Oh, okay. He doesn't owe her any
So,
money.
no, those have been caught up. It's just going this school year going forward.
So going forward within 30 days. Yes. Thank you, Judge.
Okay. Right. With that clarification, Ms. Zagorski, this recommendation is agreeable with your client. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you.
Right. To Mr. Dusseau, good afternoon. Do you understand the recommendation?
I do.
Do you have any objection to the court adopting this recommendation?
I do.
Okay.
This is not a mandatory extracurricular, or it's not an extracurricular that I agreed to. So in our agreement, it says that for extracurriculars that I agreed to, but I have not agreed to this one. This is not an extracurricular.
Okay, you're referring to the band trip. Is that correct? The band trip to Universal Studios?
It is a trip that the band takes the kids to go to Universal Studios, but it has nothing to do with band. Last year, I was under the impression that they were going to go and play in a parade or do work camps or something of that nature, and they did not do anything at all with their instruments or anything band related whatsoever.
It appears that the last order by the court, November 14, 2023, it says all extracurricular activities are agreed to shall be paid equally by the parties. Ms. Zagorski, if Mr. Dusseau does not agree to, I guess what is this, a future band trip? Is that correct? Is that later this summer, or is it in the fall, or is it holidays?
Next spring, Your Honor.
Okay, so obviously if Mr. Dusseau does not agree to it, he should not have to pay any portion of that.
Yeah, so here's the thing, Judge. The children are in band. That order that you referenced does refer to band camp. That's the summer band camp. My argument to why the trip to Universal should be a part of those agreed upon extracurricular, and just to be clear, Mr. Dusseau does agree that the children can participate in band, and they have, and he's paid for it. My client just confirmed that he paid the fees that were accrued last year. The camp itself is $2,600. It's at Universal Studios. The children attend workshops. It is part of the band program. He has agreed that they can be in band. He has paid for it in the past. And it appears to me like he's punishing the children because my client brought him back to court for more child support. Mr. Dusseau is making more money than he did last year. That's why his child support went up. He's making more money than he ever did. And arguably, I could assert that he should pay 72% of the cost, but the parties have agreed that they share those costs. And it's unfair to the children that he's not allowing them to do this now when he has in the past. This is retribution for returning to court for child support, and the children shouldn't have to pay the price because Mr. Dusseau's angry.
Well, the fact they're participating in band at school as a extracurricular is one thing, but going to Florida Universal Studios is that's certainly, and even this recommendation says not mandatory. And I understand even though he paid it last year, it's not required that he paid every future year, Mr. Gorski. So the court would not order him to pay that if, in fact, he does not agree to the kids participate.
Said they could go.
The
I'm sorry.
last order says pretty clearly, all agreed upon, all extracurricular activities that are agreed to shall be paid equally.
Well, but he
Mr.
did say
Dusseau?
that they can participate in band.
He said they could go, he just won't pay for it.
Well, participating in band is one thing. Is it mandatory? Will they be removed from the band team if they don't go to Universal Studios, Ms. Croley?
No, Your Honor, they won't be removed, but they will be doing like camps while they're there, learning different things. Mr. Dusseau said that they could go on the trip. He just doesn't want to pay for it.
Well, based upon the last agreement of the parties, the court hard pressed to order him to pay for it if he is not agreeable they participate in that. And that's your only objection to this recommendation, Mr. Dusseau. Obviously, you're going to disappoint the children if that's your position, and obviously it's going to create problems because mom's going to say, well, I can't afford it, and dad can't help me. And I mean, really, is it, do you want to create problems for your 12-year-olds? You know what, you know better than the court does if it's important to the children.
Your Honor, we can do other things, family vacation, perhaps something. Last year, like I said, they went, and all it was a trip for them to go to Universal Studios, had nothing to do educationally, anything. So it was $2,600, $1,200 that I came out, missed a couple days of my vacation with them, and for them to just go to a theme park for 5 days on their own.
Why don't you join them? Have you ever thought of joining them?
No, Your Honor.
Maybe mom can stay home and you can spend that time with the children at the band camp Universal. That might be a special time for dad.
I have work, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
I have work, Your Honor. And no, then that's
Okay.
another ticket for me also.
All right.
Your Honor, I'm heartbroken for these children, and as you can see, my client is as well. He's making more money than he ever made. And I just feel like this is unfair to the children. He can afford it. He makes more in retirement than my client makes in her current salary, and he has another full-time job on top of that.
I'm just looking at the last order, Ms. Sikorsky. Says
But-
all extracurricular activities are agreed to shall be paid equally by the parties. If he's not agreeable to the band camp, it's not mandatory they participate in that.
But he does agree to band. In fact, that same order says that the children are with him until 2 weeks prior to school starting on a Sunday before band camp. This is something that he agrees to. It was incorporated.
Is this part of band camp? In other words, a band camp is presumably something at school, correct?
It is part of a band program, and they do workshops. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think that the children are punished because a parent can't afford to send them, but Mr. Dusseau can afford to pay half. It's not even 72%, it's half.
Okay, I know he's opposed to it. So, Mr. LaPrade, we can revise recommendation. Is the remainder of the recommendation acceptable, Mr. Dusseau?
The remainder is yes.
All right, I guess we can just delete those last two sentences referring to the Universal Studios band trip.
Yes, sir.
They're never gonna get to go on a trip now.
Of course, again, hate to see there's the problem with the kids because mom's gonna blame dad and the kids are gonna have an issue with dad, which is very unfortunate. I don't know how you address that with the children. If they've done it in the past and looking forward to it, and most of the other band members are going, I don't know how the two of you as parents are gonna address that.
Your Honor, I would never make this dad's fault with the kids because I go above and beyond to make sure that they don't know what's going on. But
Okay.
my concern is that now because he doesn't have to pay for this, They're only going into 8th grade. There are going to be school trips the next 5 years. There's going to be band trips the next 5 years. So now because he doesn't got to help with this, he's never going to help with any of those. So any trips that they go on is going to have to be 100% out of my pocket.
Don't they have fundraisers? Are the students involved in fundraisers to help defray the costs?
No, not for the junior high band, no.
Right.
I don't know
Well,
about high school. They're only going into 8th grade.
all you can do is delicately suggest to the children to reach out to their dad to see if their dad will help them. Because you
He-
can't afford it on your own. And maybe they've got to reach out to dad. Maybe that's the answer. I don't know what to tell you, Ms. Crowley.
I just don't think it's fair.
Well, yeah, life's not fair, but that's what the two of you agreed to back in November 2023. I don't think
No,
the
I
band camp is the
understand.
same as a Universal trip,
That-
Studios trip.
It was not the intent that Mr. Dusseau would be able to veto activities for the children. That was not the intent.
And-
Extracurriculars, yes. So if my client said, hey, Michael wants to play hockey and I want you to pay half, Mr. Dusseau could say, I don't agree to do that. But these children are in band. If mom said, I want Kimberly to become an equestrian and I want you to pay the farrier and boarding and for feed and for vets, he could say, I don't agree to do that, but not band.
And when he agreed to band last year, back in November when we went to court, they were already planning on going on the trip for last year and he was already making payments on it. So I don't understand why he thinks that this isn't a part of it.
Yeah, I'll put you back in our room and you can discuss it further, Ms. Crowley, if you want. I can't tell you why he can't understand it. I can't either. I'm just telling you, the trip to Universal and the course meeting is not part of the school band camp. That's a local band camp, is it not? They're not, they're
their
not
school.
getting on a plane and traveling the distance to another state to participate.
No, they'd be doing workshops there.
I'm sorry. Again, unless dad will agree, and the children should reach out to their dad. Just tell them that you can't afford it, and if that's important to them, they should reach out to their dad and tell them how important it is to their dad. Anything further, Mr. Gorski?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Dusseau, give us some serious consideration. I mean, you know better than anyone if this band is important to your children, especially, I guess, some of the rewards they look forward to as being a member of a band is taking some of these trips. So please keep an open mind, and obviously you can always reconsider and help out the children. Maybe the children need to talk with Dad, Ms. Crowley. That's what the court suggests, but the court's not going to order them to do so, even though they might have done so in the past. The court is not. This is not part of quote band camp. If Mr. Gorski, if you want to provide some additional information that this is part of band camp, and again, I presume there's some local band activities nearby here in Michigan, or part of the school program, but this is again, is not a mandatory part of that band extracurricular to travel to Universal Studios, so the court's not going to order father to pay it. The remainder of the recommendation, the court will, however, will adopt. Anything further, Mr. Dusseau?
No, Your Honor.
All right, that will conclude this matter.
He has a Rolls-Royce Wraith. He has a 4-door Porsche. He has a Maserati. He has a 1960 old school car, Cutlass, both with $5,000 to $10,000 worth of paint on them and rims. And he has at least $50,000 to $100,000 worth of jewelry. And he only pays $200 in child support.